Assalamualaikum everyone. Please be seated. The event will begin shortly. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon and salam sejahtera. Welcome to the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook Dissemination to Malaysia. I'm Erna Farina. I will be your MC for today. Before we proceed, please allow me to make a few housekeeping announcements. Kindly switch off or put your mobile phones to silent mode throughout the event to avoid interruptions. If you have not registered, please scan the QR code on the screen here. Thank you for your kind cooperation and attention. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon, a warm welcome to Yang Berbahagia Prof. Datuk Teknologis Dr. Muhammad Zamri Yusof, Deputy Vice Chancellor Universiti Tenaga Nasional. Yang Berusaha, Dr. Zulfikar Junaidi, Manager of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning of ASEAN Centre for Energy. Ms. Rika Safina, Senior Officer of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning of ASEAN Centre for Energy. Ms. Elvira Ayurosalia, Energy Statistician and Data Visualization Officer of Energy Centre for Energy. Dr. Nora Yusma, Director of Institute of Energy Policy and Research. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Institute of Energy Policy and Research, I would like to welcome all of you to our symposium today. I was informed that we have almost 80 participants here, both physical and virtual. To begin our session, I would like to invite Technologist Dr. Siti Indati Mustafa, Deputy Dean, Research and Innovation, UNITEN Business School and Senior Research Fellow of Institute of Energy Policy and Research to provide introductory note for this symposium. Please welcome Dr. Siti.
Cik Erna, Yang Berbahagia Profesor Datuk Teknologis Dr. Muhammad Zamri bin Yusof, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research and Innovation, Universiti Tenaga Nasional. Yang Berusaha, Profesor Madya Dr. Haji Amanuddin bin Syamsuddin, Dean of UNITEN Business School, UNITEN. Dr. Nora Yusma, Muhammad Yusof, Director Institute of Energy Policy and Research. Dr. Zulfikar Yunardi, Manager of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning, ASEAN Centre for Energy. And also Ms. Rika Safrina, Senior Officer of Energy Modelling and Policy from ASEAN Centre for Energy. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I'm Siti Indati Mustafa, the Deputy Dean of Research and Innovation at UNITEN Business School and also Senior Researcher at the Institute of Energy Policy and Research. And I'm happy to see my colleague, students, postdoc and some family guests from Malaysia Gas Association and IHI Corporation here with us today. And also other stakeholders from TNB, Energy Commission, Petronas, to name a few, and others who are on virtual. So welcome everyone and thank you very much for coming. So we are this afternoon privileged to welcome delegates from ASEAN Centre for Energy, Dr. Zulfikar Yunardi and Ms. Rika Safrina to be with us to share the findings of the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook in this hybrid symposium. I would like to express my thanks to the IEPRe Secretariat, ITMS, Corporate Communication Unit, and also Facility Management Safety and Security Unit who have helped to organize this symposium. Thank you very much. So the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook, or in short, the AEO7, was recently published. So I was made to understand that the first AEO was started in 2006 and was published in 2012. So the AEO reflects the relevance of ASEAN centers for energy's effort to fulfill its function as a regional center of excellence that builds a coherent, coordinated, focused and robust energy policy agenda and strategy for ASEAN. So I must say that the Outlook report complements the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, APAIC, and supports the creation of pathways for achieving the regional energy-related target of ASEAN. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to delve into a brief background and overview of our collaboration with the ASEAN Centre for Energy, or in short ACE. As we all know, the ASEAN region is the third largest energy consumer in the world. And ACE is the intergovernmental organization that specifically focuses on energy policy and development in Southeast Asia. ACE plays an important role in promoting and coordinating energy research in Southeast Asia and helps to ensure that research efforts are focused on addressing the most pressing energy challenges facing the region, and that research outcomes are translated into policy and practice to support sustainable energy future. While UNITEN, as an energy university, on the other hand, have a broader mission that includes education, research, and service to the community. So we play a critical role in conducting fundamental and academic research, which is essential for advancing knowledge and addressing societal challenges. This is where both ACE and UNITEN cross paths. So even though ACE and the university have different roles and function, I think we can collaborate in many ways to address energy-related challenges in Southeast Asia. So through research and consultancy collaboration, policy analysis, capacity building and networking and outreach, we can support each other's mission and contribute to the development of sustainable systems in the region that benefit society, the environment and the economy of our nations. So for your information, UNITEN and ACE are in the midst of establishing a memorandum of understanding to formalize our partnership and collaboration to advance our mission and objective in the energy-related research and programs through joint action and cooperation. We hope that by working together, UNITEN especially could contribute more to a more sustainable and resilient energy research in the Southeast Asia region. So this symposium today marks our first activity of collaboration to provide opportunities for our researchers, academics, and other stakeholders to share knowledge, exchange ideas, and learn about the latest energy development in Southeast Asia. On this note, I would like to take the opportunity to thank UNITEN Management, Prof. Datuk Zamri, and acknowledge the Datuk Low Tok Kwang International Energy Transition Grant for providing the seeding fund for the 2-year small-scale capacity building project of Malaysia's Pathways to Decarbonization study at IEPRe UNITEN. So these seeding funds can be a helpful starting point to initiate and foster collaboration with ACE in the quest to advance academic research and education in the energy field. So today we managed to have Dr. Zulfika and Ms. Rika from ACE to shed lights on the emerging trends and issues in the energy sector of ASEAN. So we thought it is imperative to organize this symposium because the findings of AEO are important for many reasons. For individuals, academic researchers, and businesses, the outlook helps us to keep up with emerging trends and make informed decisions about the energy usage, investment in renewable energy, and energy efficient technology. This is pertinent in today's world where climate change and energy security are major concerns. The outlook also helps policymakers to develop energy policies and regulation that promote sustainable and affordable energy system. Before we begin, please allow me to introduce to you our speakers this afternoon. So we have Dr. Zulfika Yunardi. He is the manager of the Energy Modelling, Policy and Planning Department of the ASEAN Centre for Energy, and MPP departments leads the energy research and cooperation activities in ASEAN, especially to implement the regional energy policy and planning, including cross-sectoral issues and support other program areas of the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation. Dr. Zulfika was the project manager for the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook. He holds a doctoral degree from the Department of Energy Studies at Ajau University in Korea. And prior to ACE, he was researcher at the Green Technology Centre, Korea, focusing on green technology cooperation with partner countries such as waste to energy, climate smart agriculture, water monitoring system, and AI-based disaster response in Indonesia and Bhutan. While Ms. Rika Safrina, so she is the senior officer in the ASEAN Centre for Energy under the Department of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning as well. So she leads and performs research and data analysis related to energy policy, digitalization, and energy transition in ASEAN. She completed her master's degree in science and technology policy at the University of Sussex, United Kingdom, and her bachelor degree in informatics engineering from Bandung Institute of Technology in Indonesia. She's involved in several projects, including the COVID-19 impact study on ASEAN energy sector development, the integration of smart microgrid with viable renewable energy and electric vehicles, the ASEAN Energy Outlook, and the ASEAN Energy Database Systems. So I welcome both Dr. Zulfika and Ms. Rika to UNITEN and Malaysia. So last but not least, I welcome everyone, and we hope this symposium agenda will be a very helpful and fruitful for everyone. You may refer to the full agenda of today's symposium via the QR code on your table. And we look forward to the discussion in this symposium, which would contribute towards framing our understanding of the emerging trends and issues surrounding our region and help us to identify and explore areas where further research is needed. With that, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Siti Indati. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our Deputy Vice Chancellor of UNITEN, Yang Berbahagia, Prof. Dr. Technologist Dr. Muhammad Zamri Yusof, to deliver his welcome remarks. Please welcome him.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Terima kasih. Thank you, Madam MC for today and Farina. Okay. Our distinguished guest, Dr. Zulfika Yunaidi, Manager of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning, ASEAN Centre for Energy, Ms. Rika Safrina, Senior Officer of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning, ACE, and then Madam Silvira Ayu Rosalia, Energy Statistician and Data Visualization Officer, is my colleagues Dr. Nora Yusma, Director of Institute of Energy Policy and Research, IEPRe, Technologist Dr. Siti Indati, Deputy Dean of UNITEN Business School and Senior Researcher in IEPRe. Other distinguished colleagues, I can see many familiar faces this afternoon. So thank you very much for coming. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. First of all, let us thank Allah the Almighty for giving us the opportunity to gather in this room today. I was informed that we have a number here and also quite a few also following us through online, virtually. It's not too late for me to wish Selamat Hari Raya, because in Malaysia normally we celebrate Hari Raya for one whole month. So I'm not sure about in Indonesia, but in Malaysia normally it's one whole month. And I think this year, since it's been 2 years, 3 years, we are affected by COVID. So this year is going to be perhaps more extended Hari Raya, Hari Raya celebrations for this year. So first of all, I would like to welcome everyone to University Tenaga Nasional, and especially for this 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook AEO 7 Dissemination Symposiums. I would like to thank everyone here today for being part of this symposium. Let me first of all welcome our co-organizer, ASEAN Centre for Energy, ACE, who come all the way from Jakarta. We are really honored to have ACE, ASEAN official energy think tank, to be with us today. Today's symposium is held to disseminate the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook launched by ACE, as explained by my colleagues, Dr. Siti Indati earlier. So I was informed that the AEO 7 marks the first ASEAN Energy Outlook that is built upon a strong foundations of data and modeling insight from the strong cooperations, interactions, and integration between ASEAN Energy Centre, ACE, and 10 ASEAN member countries. And the ASEAN Energy Outlook 7 is guided by the policy actions from the ASEAN's regional energy policy and planning subsector, and supported by international entities through ASEAN German Energy Program, AGEP, and Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, METI, Japan, and also ASEAN Climate Change and Energy Project, ASEP. It is very exciting to see all of you in attendance today including the many scholars from other universities. I can see quite a few of our postdocs also here today, participants from UNITEN and also other agencies to join us and spend time today to increase our understanding, inshallah, on ASEAN energy landscapes, implications, and directions of energy technology in the coming decades, especially looking at the energy transition, because now everywhere people talks about energy transitions towards net zero 2050, right? So the symposium today allow us to examine, inshallah, and discuss the main issues, opportunities, and policy action plans concerning the energy industry. It also provide an important event for us to pause and perhaps take stock of where we are, where our energy landscape stand today in the global context. Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN, Associations of Southeast Asian Nations, continue to become a global growth driver and important economic force, with populations now 667 million. So I think that's about half of China, basically. China is about 1.3, 1.4 billions, right? Ours in ASEAN is 667, so it's quite a lot. And it's contribute to, so which is equivalent to 8.7% of the total global populations, right? So in 2022, the real combined GDP of the ASEAN member states is estimated to reach 8.5 trillion US dollar, and it is expected to continue to expand as much as 3.6 times come the year 2050. So will be ASEAN is becoming a very important regions of the world, and at the same time, of course, will also consume a lot of energy as well, right? And as we all know, the region's energy sector was hit by COVID-19 pandemic in many ways. I think all parts of the world, and because of that, over the last few years, there have been declining energy consumptions, evidently in the transportation and also industrial sector due to the lockdown policies, which actually restricts mobilities and all that. Nevertheless, ASEAN region has experienced one of the strongest post-pandemic recoveries, thriving on the potentials of renewable energy sources. And regional resilience was demonstrated over the past 2 years by the increasing share of installed capacity from RE-based power plants, including biomass, solar, wind, hydro, geothermals, and all that. So, colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, energy is actually at the center of the solutions to tackle climate change. Countries around the world, in this region, also all over the world, including Asia Pacific region, are united in transitioning to a future based on sustainable energy. The globally adopted 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement on Climate Change have provided us with an ambitious framework to keep global warming within safe limit. I think the latest report by IPCC says that at the moment we are about in the regions of warming of about 1.1 degree, right? I think the latest report. And with that, we are experiencing a lot of issues. Now in Malaysia, there's issues related to heat wave. I'm from Kelantan, so during the Hari Raya I was in Kelantan, so the temperature is unbearable, 35, 36, 37 every day, and then so you really feel the heat, and people are talking about that. And then in Malaysia previously we don't have problems of people dying of heat shocks and all that, but now that is happening, right? And we have a lot of extreme climate events happening all over the world in Pakistan, and with a major flooding which has at a scale which has never occurred before, right? That is at 1.1, right? So with the Paris Agreement, if I'm not mistaken, the target is to limit to not more than 1.5 degree, right? So by the year 2050, but in order to achieve that, we need to achieve net zero by the year 2050, right? So these global targets tell us what our energy system needs to look like in the future towards low carbon, renewable base and high efficiency with universal access to all. So we want high renewables, high efficiency, and at the same time, good access to energy to all. So sometimes could be quite conflict things that which we have to tackle, to navigate through in order to make sure that the climate change issue can be mitigated. So we know that moving forward, a low carbon economy will require a radical transitions. Everywhere people are talking about this in many areas on how we source energy and also how we consume energy. This must change, right? So transformation across sector is needed, not just a particular sector, but across sector is needed. And we need decisions on fuel and clean energy technologies as well. And then to extend renewable energy-based grids, we need deeper ASEAN regional cooperations and integration. So that's why now I think perhaps in future energy outlook, we really need to look seriously on ASEAN power grids so that energy can be transported. Renewable energy generated, for example, in Laos or Vietnam can be transported to Malaysia, to Singapore and other parts of ASEAN countries. The year 2030 or 2050 seems far, but looking at the time scales of energy infrastructure, that's actually very short. It's just around the corner. So we need to make decisions fast and we need to act fast if we are to achieve the target which has been set, right? So distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia is among the most highly developed states in ASEAN and a founding member of ASEAN. Over the next 3 decades, Malaysia economy is expected to triple in size, while its population is projected to continue to grow to about perhaps 40 million in the next 3 decades. And at the same time, so of course, our energy consumption is also expected to increase by about 60%. I was informed. So today, Malaysia stands at the crossroad. So to meet this rising energy demand, the country could utilize its diminishing oil and gas resources, fossil fuel, and ultimately become reliant on international imports because our fossil fuel is also diminishing. On the other hand, Malaysia can choose to tap its considerable renewable energy resources potential to provide affordable domestic alternative to fossil fuel. And Malaysia has wisely begun to focus on the latter, on the renewable energy, setting near-term target to increase renewable energy to help meet this rising demand. Malaysia has announced the aim to reach net zero, like many other countries as well, emissions by as early as 2050, right? Well, that's the target. And yesterday, I think there was an announcement by Minister of Energy that the target is actually to increase RE to as much as 70% of our installed capacity by the year 2050. So that's a very tall order, but that's the target which has been set, which I think we have to strive together to reach it. And also yesterday it was announced that the change in policy that we can export our renewable energy to our neighboring countries. With that, I think there's a lot of framework need to be developed in terms of energy, renewable energy markets and all that. Right? So the government has been leading and enabling the energy revolution with comprehensive plans and policies that are reflected in our latest National Energy Policy 2022-2040, Malaysia Energy Transition Outlook 2023, and the Hydrogen Economy and Technology Roadmap 2023. Right? So like many other ASEAN countries, the energy transition towards net zero emission by 2050 require Malaysia to develop a sustainable energy system based on higher shares of renewable energy, with endeavor to know new coal plants to address climate change, okay, while supporting socio-economic development and achieving greater energy security. So we have put a target to not plant any more new coal plant, I think, and even to retire the coal plant even ahead of this of what is been scheduled, right? So these initiatives also include energy efficiency, also on the demand side, energy efficiency enhancement and increased share of low carbon fuel, including LNG and biodiesels. And who knows, perhaps in the future, we also need to look at the options of perhaps including nuclear also in our energy mix. This is it's not from the government, but this is my personal opinion. Right. So a concerted effort involving all stakeholders, including government agencies, the private sector, research institution, and society as a whole is required to enable a smooth energy transition in meeting the intended target. So we really have to work together, the governments, the industry, and the people as a whole has to work together if we are to achieve the target. So distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, so in supporting the National Energy Transition Agenda, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about what UNITEN is doing. Okay, UNITEN has established the National Energy Centre, NEC, to house our 6 research centers of excellence, which are Institute of Energy Policy and Research, the co-host of the events today, Institute of Sustainable Energy, Institute of Power Engineering, Institute of Energy Infrastructure, Institute of Informatics and Computing in Energy, and our latest additions to the list of institutes is Institute of Nuclear Energy. Okay, UNITEN believes that the establishment of NEC is pertinent to enhance collaborations with experts from renowned local as well as foreign universities, energy agencies and stakeholders with the aspirations of making Malaysia a regional hub in energy. So we established this NEC so that we can bring together all the greatest minds on energy to come together and work together in UNITEN to address the big issues challenging the world related to energy. So the opportunities that the NEC will unlock are expected to benefit both Malaysia, not just Malaysia, and also the surrounding regions. So beside developing the strategic energy framework, the center will also provide technological solutions for Malaysia energy transitions, and perhaps also the regions as well. So on top of this work done at the center will help develop the necessary talents for the country's future workforce moving towards energy transition, equipping them with the education skills and experience needed to lead Malaysia towards its carbon neutral end goal. So as a hub of collaborations, the NEC will draw the knowledge and experience of renowned figures across all industries, and as a space for gatherings of inquiring mind, the center will not only educate a new generations of scientists and leaders, but also help update the knowledge base of existing leaders in science, right? Learning into this advantage, there is immense potentials for NEC to create a high-level forums between renowned academics, researchers, and industry experts such as ASEAN Energy Centre that we have here with us today to discuss critical issues in the energy field. I would like to also extend our invitations to ACE to perhaps once we establish NEC later on, once the buildings is completed, for ACE to also establish an outfit in our National Energy Centre so that we can continue to work closely together to address the problems facing the world related to energy transitions. So I believe this symposium is a great platform to share insight, exchange valuable viewpoints, and jointly discuss and understand the best strategies and practices related to ASEAN's energy landscape while addressing the key challenges to the energy transitions. So the input from this symposium is valuable for the developments of further research and charting potential collaboration between ACE and UNITEN, and also with other stakeholders present here today, either physically or virtually, in future energy outlook projects and energy-related studies. So before I end, I would like to again thanks especially our colleagues from ACE for being with us today, and also everyone who are here today, whether physically or virtually, for spending time to ensure the success of this event today. So on this note, I wish all of you a fruitful discussion, and I hope that you all find the symposium an enjoyable and rewarding experience. And the meeting today will be the spark for us to continue to work together, because the problems that we are facing is really great challenge, not just problem for Malaysia or Indonesia. This is actually problems that is facing mankind. If we don't put our act together, now with 1.1 degree warming, we are already experiencing a lot of problems. We do not know if we cannot mitigate to 1.5. If we are, for example, in 2.5 degree warming, I don't know what's going to happen, right? So we have to put our act together, and I hope that this symposium will be a important one to contribute towards this initiative for us to work together. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Prof. Zamri, for the speech just now. So now, to freshen up a bit, we will do some warm-up activity. With that, I pass the floor to Dr. Muhammad Khairul Islam to navigate the activity. Please welcome, Doctor.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, those who are attending this session through virtually and physically as well. Myself, Khairul, I welcome you to this session. Of course, we have a physical refreshment, but before that, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to this virtual refreshment. Okay. Basically, this is very simple, just like funny session. But of course, we are going to ask you a few questions through online platform. As you know that there are few platform is very popular nowadays. Of course, Kahoot is one of the most popular. Of course, some of us, we already experienced with that, right? Okay. I have my brother, Brother Kushairi. He will help us to change the slides, basically. As you can see, those who are presenting here, and of course, those who are attending through the online, you can see your screen, there is a barcode. If you just scan from your phone or devices, you can use the barcode. If you use the web, then you can use the pin. It's up to you. I think I give you few minutes or not few moments just to log in. You see already, okay, 20 already. We are expecting more. We are expecting more because as we are more than 20 physically here. Okay. Few months, just let's some others join to the session. 22, hurry up. Please take this opportunity, grab this opportunity. 25. Okay, in the meantime, I think some of them you are joining, but I think we can start the process. Okay, Brother Kushairi, please, this is a very funny questions, very interesting one. Let's start with the first question to you all. Let's see what is your perception about that. Please. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Each question to answer, you will get 30 seconds. Hopefully you can take this opportunity to by answering by this 30 seconds. Hopefully. Three, two, one. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Oh, KFC is, I don't know, no wonder in Malaysia, most of them, they love KFC than McDonald's. Okay. So we can see now 15, they love KFC, and 9, they love McDonald's, but it's still equivalent. Okay, let's see the next question, please. Where are you from? Where are we from? Maybe you can drag your map, then we can see where are you from. This one will take around 1 minute. So let's see the diversification. 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay. Okay, most of them from Malaysia, some of them from India. Yeah, few of them from India. Some African nation as well. Okay, good. You can see together. Yeah, I think we can see the middle of the world. There are many, mostly definitely from Malaysia. Okay, can we go to the next one, please? Of course, this is very. Would like to see who can dominate the. But I believe as usual. Yeah, no, my perception, I'm wrong. Just now, male 17 and 13 female, but I think some of them still didn't answer. Maybe I'm not sure because I can see there are many others who join. Okay, next one, please. You don't have to tell us about the exact figure, just the range. No. I know that we all feel that we are around 25, but okay, 7 from 20 to 30, the most youngster. So hopefully this can lead the nation. They are the more energetic. Okay. Okay, 25 to 30 years old. The 7, 6, and 30 to 35, 6, 5 is 35 to 40 years old. Okay, good. What next? You are belongs to two, one, and stop. Okay, that's most of them are academician and researcher. Yeah, no wonder, because the nature of this session is like this. So 22 out of many are belongs to academic and researcher unit. Okay, next one, please. Let's see the perception that how most of the people think what could be the most important factor. Okay. Oh, of course, it is no wonder. Yeah, this is as usual. Yeah, energy, but it's still food security as well. It's almost together, almost 9 and 10. Interesting. We can go to the next one, please. Okay. Out of 30, solar. Yeah, of course. 13 of us, we think that solar should be the most important one. Okay. Followed by biomass and biofuel. Then after that, 3 is hydrogen, 4 hydropower. Okay, we can go to the next one. The second last question for you. Biggest obstacle or the barriers, most important challenges that we are facing or we will be facing. Okay, the political will. We need more bonding. The policymakers need to have the different types of policy to address this issue. Yeah, hopefully they can sit down together, and after that they can find the solution later. Okay, I think the last questions for you, just before we go to the final session, which is the most important part for this. Okay. Very simple, but most are critical, most difficult to answer. Yes, yes. Let's be positive. Let's be positive. It's a good sign that still many of us, we believe that it is achievable. Maybe not by 2050, it can be another few years, but the most important thing, we are in track. That's the most important things. Those who are from Malaysia, you know, by 2020, I mean, Vision 2020, even though it's not achieved, but Malaysia has reached to that guideline basically. So maybe coming future, it can be achieved. So ladies and gentlemen, those who are here and from the online platform, thank you so much. Hopefully you all enjoy the session. So let's pass the session to our MC, Sister Erna. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carol, for the short and fun activity just now. Now let us start and warmly invite our speaker, Dr. Zulfikar Yunaidi, the Manager of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning of ACE, to deliver his presentation on ASEAN Energy Outlook and its roles in regional energy cooperation. Please welcome, Doctor.
Yeah, that might be better. Yes, okay. Yes, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sorry, good afternoon. My name is Zulfikar. First of all, thank you very much for everyone's present today. Professor Dato' Muhammad Zamri, Dr. Siti Indati, I think Dr. Nora, Dr. Sanjay, who's coming all the way here. Thank you very much for accepting our invitations to co-host this today's symposium. My name is Zulfikar. I'm the manager for energy modeling and policy planning from the ASEAN Centre for Energy. So in these presentations, hopefully it's quite short. I will present to you what is the ASEAN Energy Outlook, what is ACE, what is the regional energy blueprint, and especially what is the role of the ASEAN Energy Outlook to the regional energy cooperations. We had a very nice refreshing session led by Dr. Hairul. Thank you very much for that. And I think there are a few insights that hopefully we can take in from there. But let me start with the introduction of ACE. So ACE, ASEAN Centre for Energy, is the intergovernmental organization. So we are within ASEAN structure, and we represent the interests of energy sector from the 10 ASEAN member states. So we, our main stakeholders or shareholders, basically, is the 10 ASEAN member states. In Malaysia, it's the Ministry of Natural Resource, Environment and Climate Change. You keep changing the name, so I keep forgetting where it is. I remember it used to be like energy and environment, then only energy, and now back to natural resource, energy and climate change. So yeah, that's basically our shareholders. We play 3 roles, basically. First, as a think tank, so we conduct research in providing policy recommendations to ASEAN member states, background studies, technology review. Basically, we assist in the regional meeting, cooperation between countries in the region and also between countries and the partners. This include various countries, China, Indonesia, Korea, Japan, India, US, European countries, etc. And we also serve as the knowledge hub. Basically, we gather the information, including the energy statistics, the technology database, and etc., etc. And again, that will serve as our role as a think tank. So basically, we have 2 main products in ACE. First is the ASEAN Energy Database System, and also the ASEAN Energy Outlook, which is our flagship publications. We also play a role as the implementing agency of APAEC, which is the Regional Energy Blueprint. So APAEC is a long-term plan or blueprints of energy cooperations. Currently, we are in the APAEC 2016-2025, the second phase. And as you can see in the top there, basically we as a regions, our idea and goal is to balance between the energy security, affordability, accessibility, and also sustainability for all. So this energy dilemma that we always have, like we want to secure our energy, but we want it to be sustainable, we want it to be cheap, we want it to access everyone, including the remote areas in many regions of the ASEAN. That's our intention. And our sub-team is based on the energy transition, which is happening right now, and also the energy resilience. Of course, it becomes more important since the last 3 years we are affected by both the pandemic and then we're affected by the energy crunch due to the war situation in Ukraine and Russia. So I think it's very important for the region to have a strengthen its resiliency. We have 7 program area. This is to say that we in ASEAN do not prioritize one technology compared to the others. So we have a 7 program area. The first one is ASEAN Power Grid. So I think in the context of Malaysia, you are in a very important position for the ASEAN Power Grid. You are like in the center of the regions. You connect, for example, between Laos with its hydropower resources through Thailand, Malaysia, and you connect it to the Singapore. So you are currently having this 100 gigawatt trade. And also, I think together with the announcement of the 70% targets of RE in 2050, you also announced that you are allowing the export of renewable energy right now. So I think it's very good news because I was in Laos last week. Singapore is coming there. They want to, I think, extend or expand the capacity of this power trade. And I think the role of Malaysia will be very, very important to ensure that this ASEAN power grid can support the ASEAN, especially in securing their energy through energy trade. The second one, we are discussing more about oil and gas. The idea that we want to push is having a common gas market so that together as a region, we can secure our energy. We also discuss about clean coal technology. So actually we are coming here as part of the regional meeting for ASEAN Forum on Coal. So we were discussing about what would be the role in energy transition moving forward. Very interesting discussion because like people might see that coal has no place in 2050, but the fact is Malaysia used like 55% of electricity coming from coal. Indonesia 60% coming from coal. So how to address this coal utilization in a just and inclusive energy transition? So that's something that we really want to know. Of course, we cannot forget the energy efficiency and conservation and also renewable energy. We as a region have a target of having 23% of renewable energy share in primary energy supply. So meaning not only electricity. So it includes your transport, includes our industry system, it's 23%. Also, we need to reduce our energy intensity by 32% in the year of 2025 compared to 2005 level. So energy intensity is, energy efficiency is very important. We always call it as the low-hanging fruit, the first fuel, etc., etc. But its implementation is, remains to be seen. It's not yet optimized yet. We also have the regional energy policy and planning. And last but not least, we also have civilian nuclear energy. No country in the region is currently operating nuclear power plants. Philippines has power plants, which was built like in the end of 80s, early 90s, but it was mothballed when they changed the presidency from the Ferdinand Marcos. They stopped. So it's already there, it's just run, but they stopped the process. And I think recently, because his son is currently the president, so they are trying to revive these nuclear power plants. Indonesia also put nuclear as one of the options, maybe in late 2040s in their net zero scenario. Malaysia, as far as I know, is quite anti-nuclear. But I think I do understand that since we are talking about energy transition, we are talking about removing coal. So I think one of the solutions, nuclear, can be a good options because it can serve as a baseline generations. Of course, and then solar and then wind can come up and support that, for example. So the ASEAN energy outlook. So we need to measure something before we can make a plan, right? We cannot do plan if something that you don't know. So that's the role of the ASEAN energy outlook. So regularly we do the monitoring of the regional target, the share of RE, the target of energy intensity, and then based on that we see whether the region can achieve its regional target, 2025 target. And what we do in the modeling is we try to develop pathway towards that. So it's very important. As also mentioned, we conducted together with the 10 ASEAN member states, so including the Ministry of Energy, let's say that, of Malaysia. And as also mentioned, it started way back in 2006. At that time, it was done completely by our partner, the IEJ from Japan. But throughout the year and culminating in the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook, as institutions, we develop our own internal think tank capacity. So we do the modeling in-house. We utilize the model called the LEAP, Low Emissions Analysis Platform, which is developed by the SEI. And we actually contracted SEI as our consultant, mainly to support the development of the model itself to suit our need. So this is the general process that we do usually. So it took a year and a half, and we are planning to do this again this year. So we published the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook last year in Cambodia, and we are currently working on the next editions, the 8th ASEAN Energy Outlook, AU8, which is slated to be launched next year, supposedly in Laos, PDR, because the chairmanship of ASEAN is rotating based on the countries. So general introductions of the models. So we model the whole energy system. So it's not only the electricity sector, not only the building, but everything. So we try to understand how the energy flows moving from the demand, how it will be satisfied in the electricity sector, in the petroleum sector, etc., etc. So we have a quite complete representations of the model. And then we try to analyze that based on 4 scenarios. So I think this is some technical of how we do that. So we usually calculate the demand based on the data collected from the energy balance table. So we want to know how much energy is required in building, residential, commercial, industry, and transport. And then once we know it, we try to calculate how it will be generated in terms of electricity generation system. And then once we have the complete picture of the whole energy system for the 10 ASEAN member states, then we conduct what we call the scenario analysis. This is the data that we need. So this is just to note that it is a data intensive process. Not all is available. Some of those we have to use some sort of assumption to work on. It's common practice in terms of modeling. I think there is a bit of an issue in this slide, but basically we have 4 scenarios in the 7 ASEAN Energy Outlook. So of course we project the baseline. So what would happen to the region's energy system without intervention, basically. And then we also try to map what would be the energy system when every countries in the ASEAN achieve their their national targets. So like for Indonesia, they wanted to have 23% of RE in the year of 2025. Malaysia also have your own targets, etc., and where we are. And usually we found a gap between this national targets achievement with the regional target. So we developed the 3rd scenario, which is the APS, or the regional target scenario. And in the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook, we also develop additional scenario called the least cost optimization. This is the targets of RE that we utilize in the AO7. For Malaysia, we also noted that the RE share is 31% in the power capacity mix by 2025 and 40% by 2035. In terms of ENC, I just want to note that for Malaysia, the targets that we had in AO7 is 8% by 2025. Of course, especially this number, the 40% by 2035, we will increase in the next edition of Outlook to 70% in 2050, and we'll see how it can play out into our regional. The last part is my colleague, Ms. Rika, will explain more about the results, but why we do the ASEAN Energy Outlook. So these are the kind of analysis, these are the kind of insights that we can have. First, we want to know what is the pathways of ASEAN energy system. So where it goes, if we continue with the national target, where it goes. If we accelerate our measures in energy efficiency, renewable energy, where it goes, right? We haven't really played around with the net zero in the AO7, but maybe we can play with that in the next edition of Outlook, and we can see like what would be required for the region to reach this their net zero target, for example. We also do this to know the monitoring and the projection of the target. As a note, I think currently in ASEAN, the renewable energy is around 14-15% out of 23% the target that we have. So we still have to increase our efforts there. And that's also the role of ASEAN Energy Outlook, to analyze the technologies and the policies. So like, for example, we explore what will be the role of interconnection, what will be the role of battery, what will be the role of EV, what are the policies that we can enact so that the region can achieve higher than what they are currently doing in the current trend. So that's also the analysis that we do in ASEAN Energy Outlook. We also check about the emissions, the utilization of lands. So basically the secondary analysis, job creation, etc., etc. So I think that will be my presentations. My colleague will continue with more detailed discussions. And after that, maybe we can have the Q&A. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zulfikar, for the presentation just now. Now I call upon Ms. Rika Safrina, the Senior Officer of Energy Modelling and Policy Planning of ACE, to continue the sharing on ASEAN Energy Outlook 7 modelling findings. Please welcome Ms. Rika.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, Professor Dato Muhammad Zamri, Dr. Sanjay, Dr. Siti, Dr. Nora, and other distinguished guests and participants offline and online. So my name is Rika Safrina. I'm from the Energy Modeling and Policy Planning Department of ACE. So I will continue the presentation from Dr. Zulfikar just now. This time more on the findings and recommendations from the A7. So in line with the rapid economic growth, the regional energy demand is expected to triple by 2050 from 2020 levels, as shown in these two graphs. So the left graph shows the sectoral energy consumption, and the right graph is by fuel. So the national efficiency measure in ATS scenario, ATS is considering national targets, will help to greatly reduce the total demand by around 39.6% in 2050 compared to the baseline scenario. So, but then in the APS with stronger regional efforts, the avoided energy consumption could reach 53.7% by 2050 compared to baseline. So as you can see here, industry and transport sectors continue to be the highest energy consuming sectors in the region throughout all the projections. In terms of fuel, oil products remain the largest to be consumed with 47% share in 2050 baseline scenario and reduced to 38% in APS for the same year. Following oil is the electricity demand. Just now energy demand, now energy supply. AU7 produced various pathways of potential energy supply in the region. Energy supply continues to grow, reaching 4 times by 2050 from 2020 levels. And then that was in the baseline scenario. Meanwhile, in the ATS, it can be reduced to 3 times by 2050, while in the APS 2.7 times. And then in LCO scenario, which considered the least cost optimization in the energy system, it can reduce again the supply further to 2.5 times. In all scenarios, fossil fuels still dominates the energy supply mix. But we can see the RE, we can observe that RE share is increasing slowly to achieve the national and regional targets. Emerging technologies such as nuclear and storage enter the energy supply, especially in the LCO scenario, to consider the least cost of energy system using nuclear and battery storage. So nuclear and we can see nuclear and storage can be crucial in providing the base load energy, and then top up by the renewable energy. How about the export-import status in the ASEAN? In baseline scenario, without significant discoveries or existing production infrastructure, and with continuous utilization of fossil fuels, ASEAN would become net importer of natural gas and coal starting from 2025 for natural gas and 2039 for coal. That is in baseline scenario. For oil itself, ASEAN is already net importer of oil since before 2005. With the increasing share of RE in the energy mix and the implementation of energy efficiency and conservation measures, ASEAN would remain a net exporter of coal even until 2050. But natural gas net import starts around 2025 in ATS and 2026 in APS. So this can be something that we need to consider to ensure the energy security, because fossil fuels price is very fluctuative, especially during a global crisis. That was energy supply. Now, in terms of install capacity. As the needs of install capacity decrease due to the energy efficiency and clean energy penetrates the power system, this can be seen clearly in the shift of install capacity from coal and other fossil fuels to all types of renewable energy, such as geothermal, solar, and wind in the short term, and also hydro in the long term. LCO scenario is designed with the same level of electricity need as the APS scenario, but LCO requires lower install capacity. in LCO, because it considers the least cost optimization, coal and bioenergy and nuclear get higher consideration in the model compared to natural gas, hydro, solar, and wind. Also, the battery will be installed to balance the supply and load. As mentioned before by Dr. Zulfikar, ASEAN has a regional target of RE share in install capacity by 35% in 2025. So we can see the target is likely will be achieved for RE share in install capacity. Next is about the power sector investment. Power sector investment cost is strongly impacted by the successful implementation of energy efficiency strategies by end users. The APS and LCO scenarios demonstrate the lowest power generation investment requirements amongst all scenarios, highlighting lower electricity demand brought about by improved energy intensity, particularly in the industrial, commercial, and residential sectors. LCO scenario can produce an electricity generation system with the lowest investment costs. Cumulatively, during 2021 until 2050, the cost would be around 144 billion US dollar, cheaper than the APS. So this is also about 488 billion US dollar cheaper than baseline scenario. So this is to keep the APIC target of 23% RE share in TPES, total primary energy supply. The cost of electricity production and in LCO scenario is also the cheapest among all scenarios. The regional targets, there are, just now I mentioned about the regional RE targets in install capacity, but there are two other targets, which is 32% energy intensity reduction by 2025 compared to 2005 levels. And the other one is RE share in TPS. So when we're talking regional wise, it's not complete if we do not monitor these APIC targets. In 2020, EI energy intensity reduction made a good progress and reached to 23.8% due to the economic contraction caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Continuing the national target, AMS would not be able to reach its 2025 target, leaving about 2.8% gap to the regional target. And then in the long term, the region is projected to reach energy intensity reduction about 38.6% in ATS and 46.7% in APS. Meanwhile, for the target RE share in TPS, in 2020, it reached 14.2%. But we need to reach 23% in 2025. So there is still a huge gap. The national policy or all the 10 IMS national policies will result in 17.5% of share in 2025. So there is still about 5% gaps to the aspirational target. But now it's already 2023, so only a few more years to reach this target. So it is crucial to accelerate more RE and EE efforts, renewable energy in TPS and also energy efficiency measures. This is something that all parties, including academia, industry, could support to achieve these targets. Yeah, other than energy supply, energy demand, electricity sector, the AU7 also made analysis, secondary analysis on, for example, on the job creation, especially in the renewable energy sector or green job creation. So following the strong RE deployment, it is projected in APS scenario to provide up to 5.5 million new jobs in RE, including in construction, installation, operation and maintenance by 2050. About 67% of this would be involved in the hydropower plants, followed by 19% in solar and 10% in geothermal. So our projection, there are huge opportunity for jobs in the future in hydropower, solar, and geothermal. Maybe this is something that we need to also encourage our next generation, our students to learn more about this sector, so they have more potential in the job markets in the coming years. So RE job creation in other scenarios is significantly lower due to lower renewable plant capacity addition, about 4.5 million RE jobs for ATS and 3.2 million jobs for the LCO scenario. This addition of RE jobs will be dominated by Vietnam and Indonesia in our projection. Not only job creation, we also try to project emissions, GHG emissions, and land use of biofuel to address energy, climate, and energy land food nexus. In 2050, the annual GHG emissions from energy system would reach 6.7 gigaton CO2 equivalent in baseline scenario. This is without international transport. The amount is reduced along with energy transition, with more than half in APS, about 2.9 gigaton CO2 equivalent. LCO scenario increase the emission a bit by 3.1 gigaton scenarios because in LCO scenario we consider more coal, mainly in the power sector. In terms of land use for biofuel, about 8.8 million hectare of land is required to produce biodiesel and 2.3 million hectare for bioethanol, or in total about 2.5% of the AMS land mass. As you know, Southeast Asia has potential, including Malaysia, in bioenergy. So biodiesel reduce while bioethanol increase in ATS due to differing policy setting in AMS in ASEAN member states. So these are some recommendations or policy recommendations coming from the results. In the power sector, it is crucial to ensure renewable energy penetration that goes beyond capacity and get translated to higher power generation. All renewable energy options should be optimized according to cost marginality. For variable renewable energy like solar and wind, energy storage should be developed. And then also grid modernization and interconnection, like ASEAN power grids, should be enhanced towards stability, flexibility, and resiliency. Beyond power sector, securing energy should also consider geopolitics, availability of key resources, and improving domestic reserve. In the end-use sectors, energy efficiency is a must, ranging from increasing fuel economy and promoting energy-efficient appliances and better demand management. Electrification should also be pursued, such as moving from traditional cooking to clean cooking, like electric stove, also electric vehicles, especially to remove oil dependency, because in transport sector, oil is still the largest share, has the largest shares in transportation. And then lastly, shift to more use of any renewable energy, including bioenergy and solar heating, should be promoted. So navigating secure and resilient energy transition should be the theme of the region energy system. All technology and policy options should be assessed in a comprehensive way, including efficiency, resource, and materials availability, and the end-of-life management. So the IO7 can be downloaded for free in our website, in the ASEANenergy.org. You can also scan the barcode here. You can also download it for free and read it more details. We put several data from 2005 until 2050. You can check that in energy supply, energy demand, energy consumption, and then electricity generation, install power capacity. So you can check the data and the report there. And then I would like to highlight, because here we are in UNITEN. This is just a small slide. We are currently having cooperation or collaboration with Dr. Nora and Dr. Hazlin from UNITEN about this special topic, research about investment and measures for clean energy and power sector resilience in ASEAN. It is supported by Energy Foundation China, or EFC. So I would like to say there are more topics that we can collaborate between ACE and UNITEN, not only maybe for our future AO8, ASEAN Energy Outlook, the 8th ASEAN Energy Outlook, which will be published next year, or also other specific thematic topics such as like this in clean energy investments. So there are a lot of potential to collaborate. So I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rika, for the presentation just now. Now we have come to the Q&A session. I would like to open the floor for any questions to our speakers. And the virtual participants are also invited to post your questions in the Q&A box. So any questions, you come to the mic. Any questions from the floor?
Hello, everyone. Sorry, my background is civil engineering, so I don't know too much about energy. But one of the things I follow the news, I read some of the European country, they already shut down the nuclear power plant, and Germany, if I'm not mistaken, they're planning until 2025 or 2030. They shut down all of their nuclear power plants. But one of the solutions you suggest is a nuclear power plant. If they planning to shut down and it means it's not good and they planning to have another alternative way, so why Asian country must go for nuclear power plant and they don't go to the high tech or that things the European planning to do that one? Why we must go for some things they already try and experience and they planning to shut down it? Only this one. Thank you.
Okay. Allow me to answer while sitting down. Thank you very much for the question. It's actually very interesting. Several countries, Germany especially, is shutting down their nuclear. Japan has reduced its nuclear due to the Fukushima. But actually, since the energy crisis, Japan is actually restarting their nuclear power plant as well. German, due to the high gas pricings, they require energy. They don't have the nuclear anymore. They're shutting down. They actually start some of their coal power plant just to secure the energy. So I think in terms of the types of solutions, what we can say, I mean, we are not like advocating you have to do nuclear for ASEAN. What we're saying is that nuclear can be one of the options. We in ASEAN Centre for Energy try to be technology neutral. So whatever the technologies are there, as long as it can provide you with the energy security, affordability, sustainability, then we are all go for it. So in terms of nuclear, I think what we can say is there are several progress, including in the regions, in promoting this small modular reactor, the SMR. So it's smaller in size, 300 megawatts. It's easier to install, and in terms of the waste management, it's also easier. So I think from that perspective, as long as it can be safely operated, it does not cause any harm, then I think that can be part of the solution. Again, one of the advantage of it, of course, the disadvantage is actually quite clear. When you have an accident, that's boom. But the advantage is, of course, it can provide you with a regular supply. We call it baseload generations. In terms of land utilization, it's actually also small. And several other. But the challenge, I think, in nuclear, of course, in political will, I think the same with the Germany case. The issue is political will. They don't want to go nuclear, then they stop nuclear. Korea, the previous president, they don't like nuclear, stop nuclear. But the new presidents, he likes nuclear, then let's go for nuclear again. Let's export nuclear, blah, 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 etc. So I think it depends on, I think the first factor in the mentioned before in energy transition is political will. So it depends on the countries, depend on the solutions. But from our side, we try to be technology neutral as long as our goal in security, economic development can be achieved. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the floor?
Hello, good morning. Good evening. So my question is, if one day we are successful in this energy model, and then we still have non-renewable energy like gas, charcoal, oil, then do we still use that resources as energy? If yes, then okay. Then if not, why we can just continue use the energy? That's the question. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll stop. In terms of modeling, policy planning, the challenge is to balance between the what we want to have. Like for example, we want to have net zero in 2050, the status that we have now, and the pathway towards that. So I think if you notice in our analysis is we still have fossil fuel, as you mentioned, we still have gas, like even coal a little bit, a lot of oil products in transportation system up to 2050, because our scenario is simply not yet, aiming for the net zero. So why fossil fuels is still being used by that time? Simply because it's very huge part. It's like you have a huge ship. You cannot just like turn it around. Let's change everything to renewables. It will be very, very costly. So what we need is a proper pathway that financially sound. Of course, countries like Europe, they want to have 100% RE. They have the money. For example, the infrastructure for grid is already quite good, so they can absorb this variable renewable energy. But for countries in ASEAN, most of the countries, we still need to improve our infrastructure. And also we still need to grow in terms of economy. So I think in terms of the solutions that we have, it's what we are showing. Of course, we can also develop, for example, another scenario, because scenario, I mean, nobody knows in the future, right? But we can also develop scenario, for example, we want to have no emissions or net zero by 2050 or 60. But then we will see that for that, we have to dismantle our currently huge coal power plants in a very quick manner. We have to replace that with whatever options that we have. Solar and wind, they are variable renewable energy, meaning you can only use it in daytime when you have a wind, right? Nighttime, you don't have solar. So you need to develop a storage system. So what kind of storage that we need, how big it is. So that are the things that utilizing the modeling, we can understand. So it's not like, okay, let's go to 100% RE, but what do we need for that? Then through the modeling, we can see, oh, it will need storage this much. The options that we can use, geothermal and hydro is better, for example, because you don't need storage for that. You can combine this and that kind of solutions. You can use biofuel, but as we showed, then you will need this much land. So understanding the comprehensive, complicated manner when you're deciding policies is the role of modeling. So hopefully it's more or less answer your question. Yeah, Rika, you wanna add? Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I would like to add. For the AO7 modeling, we did not yet consider the net zero emissions targets. Maybe in the next future, Also, there are several developments recently in ASEAN countries such as GETP, Just Energy Transition Partnership, that was received by Indonesia and Vietnam to have the peak emissions by 2030 and to phase out coal. Also, there is support from ADB during in energy transition mechanism to phase out coal. So this new development might be considered in the future in our modeling to have lower coal share. Maybe we do not know yet. That is something to be considered. And then yeah, we need to consider also about the cost if we install more variable renewable energy. Maybe in the European countries, the VRE cost is already cheaper than Southeast Asia, but we need to compare the cost here in ASEAN of variable renewable energy. And how about if we still have fossil fuels in our energy mix? Plus with carbon capture storage, for example, is deploying CCUS is the same with VRE cost. So we need to have a comprehensive cost and benefit analysis for all types of energy, because as mentioned by Dr. Zulfikar, we are technology neutral. Yeah, thank you.
All right, next questions.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Let me go more deeper to the modeling side and optimization. Given the intermittency of the renewable energy systems and the rush towards 100% renewable energy or decarbonization, as you stated before, so is it possible to attain a full energy security and 100% flexibility, taking into account large-scale renewable energy system only? This is the first question. And the second question is, in one of the slides, there is energy efficiency and conservation strategies, which are related more to the energy efficiency. In Malaysia, there is a strategy followed by the government, released maybe, I'm not sure, 5 years ago, or something like this in the research sites, following like the STAR systems, shifting from the high energy intensity or intensive equipment to the low equipments, which consume less electricity, from like 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. Yeah. Is there any other policies that governments can follow to reduce or to go forward towards the energy efficiency? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the first question is about the intermittency of renewable energy. Yeah, I think to reach 100% variable renewable energy is very challenging, but that's something that we need to explore to implement more flexibility. It can be in the form of battery or energy system storage, also to implement more digitalization in the power sector, or demand side response management. I think that kind of technology we should consider to have more flexibility. And then for the second question about energy efficiency policies, currently ASEAN countries have implemented several policies, such as MEPS, Minimum Energy Performance Standard, where they have some kind of audit system or standard for all appliances, such as a refrigerator, air condition, lighting as well. So it has been implemented in other regions as well, in other countries. So so this is something that should be enhanced to include more appliances. Not only lighting or aircon, but maybe other washing machines, or yes, other all types of electricity.
Yeah, maybe just one small thing to add. I just checked, but in the region we are currently have maybe 300 gigawatt of electricity installed capacity, and maybe let's say 30-40% of it is coal, right? If you want to have like 100% renewable energy, then we have to replace it into another solution. But some of the challenge of the variable renewable energy that you mentioned, due to its intermittency, its a capacity factor is quite low. So like this is not the actual number, but like for example, like 1 gigawatt coal, you might want to require like 3 to 4 gigawatt of solar, right? And then plus the storage. So say that now you have 350, 30% of it is coal, so you have 100 gigawatt, then you have to install like 300 to 400 gigawatt of solar to replace that coal if we go with solar and wind. But of course, we have another options, geothermal for Indonesia and Vietnam. We have hydro, we have bioenergy, for example, which can be run like, which have a comparable capacity factor compared to coal. So when we are asking, it's possible to have 100% RE system? Yes, of course, it's possible. But then we have to really calculate to go there. What are the requirements? You mentioned about flexibility. It's very important, meaning that the intermittency of solar and wind, it goes an up and down, right? When it's down, how to handle that? So you need some sort of energy sources that you can turn on and off as well. It can be in form of storage, of course, but it can be in form of gas, for example. You can turn it on quite easily, and several others. So it's possible, but again, how to do that? What are the planning? How much money required? That are probably the roles of maybe us, as a researcher, to really provide the pathway that are actually like implementable. Yeah, thank you.
Sir, I want to look at my question is going to be from, sorry, my question is going to be from the perspective of shale oil exploration. So I want to ask the perspective you look at it when you consider whether it is a form of clean energy, and if it is worthy to be a thing that could be looked into in terms of ASEAN with respect to 2015 sustainable environmental goals. That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, shale oil is actually quite shale oil, right? Yeah, it's quite interesting form of oil, but it's non-renewable. That's first and foremost, and then even in it's mainly produced, I think, in the States, United States and Canada. But even there, a lot of environmentalists kind of protesting over that because it used huge amount of water to crack the shell and extract the oil, so it's not really environmentally friendly. It was a game changer when it came, I think in 2010, 15 at that time, because at that time the price of oil is quite increasing. So people search of alternative solutions, shale oils come, and then shale oil, shale gas comes in, and then what happened was that that can be a solution for so what I'm trying to say is that was a game changer in the sense that the source is more, I'm talking about geopolitical, right? Because mostly oil and gas is coming in the Middle East, gas is in the Russia, but now with the utilization of shale oils, US can revive their dominance in oil and gas. So basically saying it can be one of the options that we have. I'm not really sure, like the shale oil and gas in Southeast Asia. I haven't heard that much about that. I understand it's there, and maybe in China, China has everything basically. But that's maybe not an actual solutions other than by having shale oil, somehow the price of oil can be kind of limited, so it's not going too high, because when it's too high, then the US can supply their shale oil, and so it's more on the energy security, geopolitics, balancing the price. But I think in terms of actual solution for Southeast Asia, maybe I don't know. I'm not really sure. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we also have one question from our online participant. What is the outlook of hydrogen for power generation in ASEAN region? That is the only question.
Yeah, hydrogen is a very interesting topic, and I think many countries are currently pushing it, including in Southeast Asia. Singapore, for example, they just released a couple of months ago, last year in the CU, their green hydrogen strategy, because they want to, they don't have energy. That's why they're importing through Malaysia, right, from Laos, but they want to have a lot of clean energy. So hydrogen is one of the options that they explore. The interesting thing of hydrogen is that it can be used, it can be transported quite easily. Not really easily compared to gas. But I think in terms of infrastructure, people think that because we have some gas infrastructure, then we can more or less shift that into hydrogen. That's one. Second is that it can be produced by many things. You have the coloring, right? You have like brown, gray, green, blue, pink from nuclear. So you can have like many options to do that. And also, but the challenge is it's still quite expensive, especially for the green energy, green hydrogen. And another option is you can use it as a storage. So when you have like too much solar at the daytime, then you can use it to generate hydrogen. You can keep it, then you can use it for when you don't have that much electricity. Based on those sectors, I think many countries are doing research, cooperation activities for hydrogen, both for power, but also maybe for transport. But again, it's still some way to go. I think we from ASEAN Centre for Energy, we monitoring it very, very closely. The potential of hydrogen, what are the technologies coming, and whether it's going to mature in time to support the net zero. But I think that's what I'm about to say on the status. I think it's quite promising, but there are still challenges to be addressed. For power, I think before power, what we can do is to clean the utilization of hydrogen. We are using hydrogen currently for fertilizer, for some other products that are coming from natural gas reforming usually. So change that into green, it's helpful. And then the next stage, we can think about the power generations, the industry sector, etc., etc. So it's still there, but ongoing progress, I think. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Zulfikar. Next question from Dr. Siti. Yeah.
One question, I think, because many people actually ask me with regards to this, because I think this is related with the modeling. I think when we do energy outlook, usually the accuracy of results, okay, is always a question, right? So I just wonder, since ACE has been doing this energy outlook, a series of energy outlook since 2006, right? Whether perhaps you can actually shed lights on how you manage the accuracy measurement in your modeling, and whether you have done any different in the AEO7 to manage these accuracy matters. Thank you. That's all.
I think as a modeler, that's the toughest question ever, because some says that all models are wrong, but some are useful. So that's the key in modeling. Nobody knows the future. Every model is based on the assumptions, but what we have is the logic that we have in, okay, this is what we have right now. This is the target. This is the potential pathways. So we're not like blindly say, okay, oh yeah, we just change that with renewables. We put on our system, but we don't calculate the cost, for example. Then it took like trillions to do that. That's one point. The second is in terms of accuracy. I think maybe that's why we do Outlook every 2 years, so that we can update that with the latest data. And from time to time we always compare. Like for example, this time we compare what is the achievement of some targets in ASEAN in 2021 based on our actual data with what we projected in 2006, what we projected in 2020 for the AO6 and 2002 for AO7. So we can see the gap, but mostly it's not again, in terms of modeling logic, it's correct, but nobody can predict what happens in the actual life. Like for example, yeah, in 2000, 2003, we were thinking that, okay, energy will grow this much, renewable energy efficiency will growing, but then we have pandemic. And then people, I think in 2000, yeah, people suddenly don't travel that much. So we see like energy use is slowing down. We thought, oh, we're doing good in terms of energy efficiency. But then coming 2021, when we check our data, it's increasing again, right? And we can never predict that in terms of modeling. But I think in terms of improving accuracy, first we check the logic. But another thing that we do is we try to make our model more robust. In AO7, like for example, we disaggregate our industry. So not whole industry, but for, I think 5 to 6 sub-industry, which with its own characteristic. For example, in commercial, we divide it into building types. So there are various modeling approaches to improve the robustness so that the logic becomes more and more actual to reality. The second is, updating the data based on the latest information. But that I think the best that we can do. But in terms of the actual numbers happening, again, nobody knows. In 20 years, suddenly nuclear fusion, nuclear fusion become available, then maybe all our energy problem will be solved. So that's what we're hoping, the technology development coming in the future.
Yeah, maybe I just would like to add that during our development of AO7, we had also had a series of consultation with the ASEAN member states, including the energy modelers and statisticians of 10 ASEAN member states, not only one time, but several times to meet them and consult to recheck again, so they can recheck the results and we reconfirm again their targets, policies, so that during the 1.5 years development, there are a lot of consultation series with ASEAN member states.
Okay, next question from Dr. Nora.
Let me ask from here, okay? Okay, so I just want to ask regarding the carbon tax. Because is it there is any collective agreement among the 10 ASEAN member states to discuss about this carbon tax or potential to implement among the Asian member countries? Because we know that Singapore already have the carbon tax, and recently they also revised the pricing of the carbon tax. And secondly, regarding the ESG reporting, because there is most probably the Malaysia through the Central Bank of Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia, we implement the ESG. So means that all the industries that we try to get the financing from the bank have to comply with the requirement, have to achieve a certain index for ESG, and also for some other countries they already put some restriction. If you not achieve the certain level of the ESG index and so on, you are not allowed to join to bring your investment and so on. So my question: what is the potential for the carbon tax and ESG mandate or compulsory for among the Asian member states? Thank you.
Yeah, currently I think there is no not yet the regional apprehensive. The same standard for all ASEAN member states, but it's more on the national level, such as Singapore. Also, Indonesia has recently launched the carbon tax through stock exchange. So if they want to trade the carbon is through stock exchange. Yeah. And I think this year ASEAN is developing carbon neutrality roadmap. Perhaps they will mention about that during the roadmap. Maybe not establish the system yet, but maybe some initiative solution towards that.
In terms of ESG, I think it's going to be more and more important with the sustainability issues coming, and also related with the finance. In ASEAN, I think the latest development is we have this ASEAN taxonomy. So it's taxonomy is like you define different types of industry and give a not really scoring, but most on like labeling. Okay, this is green and or not brown, blah blah blah. It's a bit we have the second version released this year. But yeah, I think in terms of and maybe adding also in the carbon tax, Indonesia also start to have the carbon tax for power plant, for coal power plant higher than 100 megawatt. So basically in many members, we have either carbon tax or carbon pricing, but in terms of regional ones, it's still not yet. It's always challenging of having like regional structure. In terms of carbon pricing as a policy for net zero, of course, that's will be very, very helpful. Yeah, but again, the challenge is I'm not sure about Malaysia, like, but for Indonesia, for example, we have a subsidy for electricity pricing, for example. So there are discussions that we have a carbon tax in coal power plant, but we have subsidy in electricity. So I think we need to think carbon pricing in a more comprehensive way, including what will be its impacts to energy pricing, because we have affordability as one of our platform. But having a regional energy carbon pricing will be important, especially to avoid what we call the carbon leakage. When you have like one country of carbon tax, it makes things expensive, right? So competitiveness might be reduced. So that's maybe another interest if the countries want to pursue the regional carbon pricing. But as of now, it's not yet there. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Last but not least, very last question from Prof. Zamri.
Okay, it's a simple questions. I'm sure when the energy modeling is done, you look into the impacts on the energy pricing, right? Energy pricings and all that, and then the but do you look into the impact of that on the of course, when the energy costs increase, then manufacturing costs increase, and then there'll be increasing cost of living, and then there will be perhaps impact also on different pathway will have different impact on the jobs, for example, and if we choose the path to reduce to remove all the coal, for example, then all the industries related to coal will cease to exist, and then with that the job also will disappear lah. Of course, there'll be more jobs appear in different sector. Do you look into that as well? I mean, the impact on perhaps the GDP as well of the different scenario, and also on perhaps unemployment rate or something like that. Is that something that look into also in the modeling which is done, Doctor?
So I'll be honest with you, we're not. Yeah, we haven't really, I don't know, modeler usually say it's close the loop. So we have economy, driving energy, we do analysis, and then we close the loop, getting back to economy, what's the impact? Usually it's, as you might know, utilizing like CGE type of modeling or IO table modeling, but we are not on that analysis yet. So we only, for example, analyze the required investment, and then in terms of job, we do assess the jobs creation, mostly on the RE because it's shifting to RE. But I do agree that it's very important to also assess the impact of energy transition to the economy. That may be something, some avenue of research that probably we can explore. Additional quick note from the coal, because we are having meeting with the coal industries this week. So they're actually saying, not in the forum, but more on a personal, that energy transition need to be just, meaning exactly as you mentioned, what will happen with the coal mining industry, power plant industry, transport of the coal, that needs to be addressed. And what mentioned by Rika before, the JETP, the ETM really need to address that. So that's also some of our homework in terms of ensuring.
Okay, regarding that question, actually, currently for Malaysia, we are doing a study. The first study is the technical one, the fuel security, and then the optimization in power generation. And the second phase is to see the impact, phasing out coal, and then impact of decarbonization to the economy. So because Bank Negara Malaysia has approached us for us to conduct a study, what is the potential impact to the economy, to the job, and then the industrial, we call multiply effect and supply chain effect when we phase out the coal and also switching from combustion engine to EV. So that's very related to what Datuk said just now. Okay. Oh, for ASEAN, inshallah, we can do.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Thank you so much to both of our speakers, Ms. Rika and also Dr. Zulfikar, for answering all those questions. So now we have come to the end of our Q&A session. Before I invite Dr. Nora Risma to deliver her closing remarks, we would greatly appreciate if you can take a few moments to scan the QR code that we have provided on each tables to give our feedbacks about today's event. Right. On the feedback.
Yeah.
And now I would like to invite Dr. Nora Risma for giving a closing remark.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Erna, as our MC. Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and very good afternoon to yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk TS Dr. Muhammad Zamri bin Yusof, the speaker from the ASEAN Centre for Energy, yang berusaha Dr. Zulfikar Yunaidi, Ms. Rika Safrina and all members of the hall. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen in the seminar room and also in virtual platform. As this energy symposium comes to a close, I would like to thank again to Professor Dr. T.S. Muhammad Zamri Yusof, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation of UNITEN, for today's opening remarks and for joining us in our symposium, the 7th Asian Energy Outlook, AEO 7 Dissemination to Malaysia. Also, special appreciation goes to the speaker, Dr. Zulfikar, and then Ms. Rika Safrina, and also to Dr. Siti Indati as the project leader of the Malaysia Pathway to Decarbonization under the Datuk Lau Tak Wong International Energy Transition Grant, as well as the IEPRe committee members, okay, and who organized the event, and all the participants who made it possible. Thank you very much. Okay, throughout the symposium, we have heard from field experts, exchanged knowledge and experiences, and participated in vibrant discussion about the future of energy for Asian member states. I'm confident that the ideas and solutions discussed here will contribute to a more sustainable and resilient energy future in Asian countries. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, it is essential that we continue to engage in open and collaborative dialogue, share knowledge and expertise, and work together to resolve the challenges of climate change, decarbonization, environmental and pollution issues, particularly as we move towards an energy transition. I hope that this symposium has been a fruitful and enlightening experience for everyone that will inspire us to take brave actions towards a more sustainable and prosperous energy future. I appreciate your participation and look forward to continuing to work with ACE and also to other energy institutions and organizations around the world. Once again, thank you very much, everyone. And with lafaz, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nora, for the closing remarks. With that, I would like to invite Deputy Vice Chancellor of UNITEN yang berbahagia Prof. Datuk Technologist Dr. Muhammad Zamri Yusof, accompanied by Dr. Nora Yusma, Director of IEPRe, to the front to present a memento to both our speakers from ACE, Dr. Zulfikar and also Ms. Rika Safrina, to the front. So, as we come to the end of this wonderful symposium, on behalf of our IEPRe, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today, to be physically and also virtually. But before that, I would like to invite everyone to the front for a group photo.